my friend. Welcome to Parenting A to Z. I'm Kelly Bourne, and this week we're taking a deep dive into shyness, how we can help our kids who are feeling a little bit shy. We're going to look at why they can act in this way, some of the underlying reasons why we can be seeing this behavior, and some practical things you can do to help them through. Grab your cup of coffee, and we'll get right to it. So as far as shyness is concerned, it's one of those things that's really interesting because it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Heck, nothing in parenting is, because our kids can be shy and use their shyness for a variety of different reasons. It could just mean that they're a little bit cautious. Maybe they're a little bit reserved. Maybe they just want to take their time meeting new people. It could be a way to get your attention. If you find that you're constantly, oh, come on, you can do it. If you're giving them a lot of extra attention for those situations where they're showing a little bit of shyness, it could be even a power struggle dynamic sometimes, right? If you're really wanting them to play that piano for grandma and grandpa and they don't want to and they're acting a little bit timid, they don't want to do it, it could be their way of kind of saying like, thanks, but no thanks, mom. I'm the boss of me. So there's tons and tons of different reasons that our kids can act a little bit shy and a little bit reserved. So as far as how to deal, the first thing right off the top, this is like the quickest, easiest, like you can start implementing this pronto, is just avoiding the label of shy, is to stop introducing our kids as being shy. Because what that does is if we are constantly saying, oh, she probably doesn't want to talk, she's really shy, or this is my daughter, she's shy, it can become a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Our kids can take that on as a character trait and start to actually pull back even further, kind of resigning themselves to the periphery and avoiding speaking up, thinking that that's who they are as a person. So just kind of scrapping that whole, and it's hard, like I'm not going to pretend that it's easy to do that if that's something that you found yourself in the habit of doing, but just trying your best to avoid using that label will really set you up for success moving forward. Another thing too is just to recognize that shyness is normal. Like there's nothing wrong with being a little bit more cautious, being a little bit more reserved. I think sometimes as parents we can want our kids to take on certain qualities or certain character traits or certain personality traits, really pushing for them if we really want our child to be outgoing and extroverted and really happy to meet new people. And if they're not like that, it can be difficult for us sometimes. So I think a big piece too is just recognizing that we're all different. We all have different ways of approaching new situations and new people. And there's nothing wrong with being a little bit more cautious. Heck, a lot of kids who are labeled as shy are actually very self-confident and very secure in who they are as people. And they're okay with who they are, and they feel like they don't have to go above and beyond pretending they're someone they're not in those situations. They're okay. They're okay just meeting someone calmly and quietly and taking their time to get to know them. So I think sometimes it's a case of just meeting your kids where they are and accepting them for who they are and recognizing that not every kid wants to jump in and shake hands with every stranger they meet. Some kids need a little bit more time, and that's okay. Another thing too in those situations is I know it can be hard in social situations where you're wanting to introduce your child to someone new or introduce your child to someone in your social circle or maybe a new family member and they're feeling a little bit timid, is try to avoid speaking for them, because the more that we speak for our children, it can create that ongoing cycle where they start to feel like they learn that in every new introduction or maybe every time they're uncomfortable that they don't have to say anything, that mom and dad will just do it all for me. Or another thing, I don't know if you've experienced with your kids where they're feeling a little bit shy and they want to whisper to you and then you whisper to them, like almost playing telephone. I try to take the mindset of listening to my kids and supporting them and just saying, you know what, honey, you can tell them when they're ready. I'm going to let you tell them that. So it doesn't get into this funny game of telephone. Really just encouraging them and empowering them that it's okay if they don't want to have that conversation now. But when you're ready, I am sure they will be more than happy to listen to you, and just encouraging them and standing by them in that moment rather than speaking for them. And then another factor that goes right along with that encouragement piece is trying to, again, I know it can be so tempting to want to avoid or step back from activities where they're uncomfortable or they're feeling awkward socially and just avoid them altogether. But again, that can create a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's kind of sending the message to our kids that there is something to be anxious about, rather than helping them through it at their own time. So again, this is hard. It's one of those things where you really have to trust your gut and trust your intuition. But rather than trying to remove your kids from every situation where they're feeling uncomfortable or they're feeling anxious or maybe not ready, is finding a way and finding a manner in which they could be more comfortable. Asking them, what would help you in this situation? How would you feel more comfortable going into swimming lessons? Focusing on times or situations when they're not shy. Looking at those situations and thinking of how you can do more of that. What is it about that situation that made you comfortable? And can we take a piece of that and move it to this new situation? Really helping and guiding them along the way to show them that they can do it. You will support them at their own pace, but that it's not something to be afraid of or anxious of. And then taking it a step further from there, talking to your kids about what would make them more comfortable in these new situations, is practicing them. If you know that you're going to be going to a family reunion and that you're already anticipating that that's going to be hard for your kids, you can practice ahead of time, practicing those conversations and practicing those introductions and practicing just the process of shaking someone's hand and looking in. I don't know why I'm looking up as if all my relatives are 8 feet tall, but just getting in the practice so that they have those words in their back pocket, because sometimes too it can just be that feeling of unpreparedness or feeling like they don't know what to say or what the right thing to do is. So if you can go through the motions with them of shaking hands, of looking other adults in the eye, of saying my name is, pleased to meet you, or whatever it is that this situation calls for, practicing that at home in a variety of different playful situations will really go a long way to setting them up for success. Of course, as always, it depends on your kid's age and developmental level. You'll need to tweak that because you don't want to be like treating your 15-year-olds like they're 3-year-olds. Of course not. You have to tweak it based on their age, but just doing your best to prepare them ahead of time so they know what to expect. And then lastly is just to take a really careful look, and this again, it may be difficult looking at our own role in this, but just take a look and notice for yourself if you could be locked in a power struggle. Are you trying to force your kids to be a certain way in social situations, and their shyness, like they're using their shyness as a pushback to prove to you that you can't make them do what they don't want to do? Or are they using their shyness as a pushback to avoid being forced playing the piano in front of grandma, or to avoid singing in front of all your work friends in the backyard, or whatever it is? So just try to notice, take a careful look at that, being really aware. Of course, like no judgment, no blame. We all get locked in these power struggles with our kids from time to time. And heck, a lot of the times you don't even really notice until you sit back and look at, oh my goodness, like no wonder she was doing that, or no wonder he was doing that. Anytime you get into that like locking horns, I know I do that all the time, because that's what it can feel like, where you're just locking horns and it's that pushing and pulling and nobody's getting anywhere. And if you can just kind of offer an olive branch in whatever that situation is, and sometimes it's just backing off a bit and allowing them to go at their own pace, being social at their own pace, or you know what, maybe stepping back and taking some quiet time for themselves, and just respecting that on our end, respecting that maybe our kids' personalities aren't our personalities. Maybe they aren't outgoing and extroverted at this exact moment, and that's okay. And that's okay. They'll meet and socialize at their own pace. So I really hope that helps, guys. Just try your best to avoid the label. I know it's hard. It's one of those things that can just kind of come at the tip of your tongue, right? Especially if you're feeling caught off guard in those social situations, or if you feel like the other person is expecting your child to be a certain way. So avoid those labels. Acknowledge your kid's personality. Normalize that sometimes you just want to step back. Sometimes you want to be a little bit more cautious, and that's okay. Avoid speaking for your child, and of course notice if you're locked in any of those power struggles. So I hope that helps, guys. Of course, let me know if you have any questions or comments down below. And as always, if you're looking for more in-depth parenting resources and support, don't forget to check us out in the Parenthood. We would absolutely love to have you. So until the next video, take care, and I'll see you later.